We're going to get into the principles and the strategies for the rest of the day. Questions, concerns, anything at all? No?
Just stuck.
Just stuck, yes. We'll look at that definitely. How to work with clients to get stuck on that one way. We'll definitely look at this. Who's gained already in the first couple of hours of doing this a better understanding of what I mean about doing conversational hypnosis?
Yeah.
Yes, and from the demonstration that happened before, we could not set that up more perfectly. That is exactly where I hope the sessions you do from this point forward end up going through those various cycles, so to speak, okay? Like I said, it went a little bit longer than what we had planned for, but it was there, so we used it instead. So what I want to do now is we're going to jump straight into a demonstration. Well, I'm not. We'll grab 2 more people, and we're just going to pick up where we left. All we're going to do is just explore the problem, okay? You might be thinking, well, why are we spending so long exploring the problem? Okay, the reason for this is that's where trance exists. It doesn't exist what do I do after I've explored the problem, what technique do I do, what testing cycle do I do. Where it exists in its most powerful form is through the investigation of the mindset itself. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to get 2 more volunteers to come up the front. We'll do the same thing, different problem. The therapist will explore the problem, find out what's, the hows, the whys. We'll get to those little nuances as well as time goes past. But then to also add as an addition, when you spot those unconscious moments, is to pay attention to them, to help them grow and to point them out. Now, however you point them out with the process instructions, whether it's what just happened then, or did you feel that, or that's it all the way now, or something like that. That's the point we're up to. So I do want to refresh our memory from that, and then we're going to start to add some more nuances to it, okay? So we do need 2 people to come up the front. Who would like to be one of those people? Coming up?
Yeah.
Excellent. Have a seat. We do need 1 more person, folks.
I could jump between.
Yeah, do you want to be both? That might be the problem. We do need 1 extra person, guys. Coming up. Give a round of applause. Okay. Let me point out something that hopefully should start to clear things up. You should be fighting to get up the front here. I know it's a little bit awkward because there's a camera there and stuff like that, but this is the place where you learn, okay? You definitely learn watching, but you'll learn more according to the way you do therapy by me being here and intervening and showing you what can be done. Does that make sense? Okay. So since you're up first, would I be the client or the therapist?
Therapist, yeah.
Therapist, excellent. So you are now the client. Okay. So have a think.
I fixed my last one.
Oh, good for you.
Right. Fantastic. We can work on that.
I must have so many.
Too many to choose from, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what about
something again that you're happy for everyone to hear?
Yeah. I hate doing housework.
Excellent. Okay, so let's start from there. You're now the client, so remember the only things you need to pay attention to is when you see Janice have an unconscious moment, draw her attention to it. So what was that, or how are you feeling, or did you notice that? And let's just see if it deepens the trance, if it pulls Janice out of the trance, if better information comes up. Once we've gone through the cycle as we've seen before, then we're going to start looking at pausing strategically.
Sure.
Okay? So go ahead, start where you wish, and let's just see what happens. And again, if you get caught in a place you don't know what to do, that's what I'm here for.
Sure. So Janice, what is the problem?
I really hate doing housework.
Hate doing housework. Why?
Yeah, because I don't know. I just don't like it. I think that I avoid it. Yeah, maybe I don't exactly hate it. I avoid it, I guess, is my problem.
Okay. Avoid it. Why do you think that is?
I'd rather do other things.
And let's pause right there. Good so far. Okay. I want to bring up one thing, and it's a common thing we all do, and this is just something to highlight as well, is the question why. When we ask a question why. Okay. What can happen with a why strategy is it can start to cement things in to become more real than what they are. So if someone's in a negative way, it's very unlikely that we should be asking, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that that's so bad for you? Because what's going to come out of a why strategy is a lot of excuses. The reason why they're here is because of the whys they have spent too longer thinking about. Okay? So an alternative to a why question is a what question. Instead of asking a client, why do you feel that, or why do you think that is, what makes you feel that, or what makes you think, to see what happens. With that in mind.
So where were you at last?
I'd rather do other things.
What sort of things?
Anything.
Who wouldn't, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much anything.
Anything. Okay. So what other anythings could you be doing?
Oh, wow.
Let's pause right there. Okay. Anyone notice the question that got asked? What could you be doing? That's the anything. Nice question, but is it getting us any closer to the problem? No. What Janice is going to give us is a list. Her telling me she'd rather watch TV or go outside, go have a cigarette, go punch a punching bag, go hunt for squirrels, whatever Janice wants to do.
Interesting.
is getting too far away from what the actual problem is. And right now I have no idea what it is. Okay, I don't really even know what she's talking about. Okay, so just be aware of that as well. I don't want my client to tell me what they rather do, because if they already knew that, they'd be doing it. Okay, there's a backflip on that. Okay, so what do we know so far? Let's take it from scratch. What do we know?
Hates housework.
Yep, so there's something to do with housework. She's either, I'm not sure if you even said hate or she might have implied it, but I'm sure it was in there somewhere. And she'd rather be doing other things.
Other things.
That's all we know. Can we fix Janice?
No.
If you had a choice to go to a movie, to watch that movie, and that's all you knew about the movie, would you go see it? I don't know the details. I don't know what makes her feel like she do other things. What she's avoiding housework for. What does she get from avoiding the housework? What is the housework doing to her that makes her want to avoid it? These are all questions we need to ask ourselves, and through implication, ask Janice as well. Okay, so let's backtrack. Let's think, well, all we know is Janice has said she hates housework and she hates avoiding or she avoids it because she doesn't enjoy it. What makes you curious about that? What do you get curious about?
Why housework? So, yeah.
So how could you ask that without asking her why?
What about the housework do you hate?
I hate the time it takes.
Excellent. So now we've got one more thing. Okay, so there's something of the time element in there. Okay, it's a better question than asking her what would she rather do, because she's going to give us an excuse anyway. Okay, so from that, let's pick it up from there. I'll get you to speak up just a little bit, just so the microphone can hear you as well. Use your manly voice. Or is that something you need to speak to a therapist about?
Do the best you can, man.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Just fake it till you make it, right?
Fake it till you make it.
Yes. Okay. Remember, as a hypnotist, this is an important point, jokes aside, you need to have authority in the way we speak, okay? And it doesn't necessarily have to be volume's just so we can pick it up in the microphone. But if we come across as very timid, our client could construe that as a suggestion and not feel the confidence they'd need in order to open up about the housework, the weight, the chasing squirrels, whatever the case may be. Okay, so just bear that in mind as well. So it's a good question. Let's see what happens.
So what do you hate about the time it takes?
Excellent.
Just that it takes time, I guess. I could do other things.
Okay. And why is that a problem?
Because I want to do other things.
I want you to ask her that question again, take out the why, and put a how at the front of it.
So how is that a problem?
How is it a problem?
See the difference? Why we got an excuse? Now she has to think about it because it doesn't make sense.
How is it a problem? Because, you know, there's only so much time, and so if I waste it on housework, then it's gone.
It's gone.
So what do you think she's trying to tell us?
Time waste.
Yep, something to do with time. Everyone noticed at the end there, the way she expressed waste, that has a lot of meaning towards it. What that is, that's our job to find out. So without asking a why question, what are you curious about?
How do you see it as a waste?
Stumped her with that one. Now if you find your client confused about the question, ask her again. Repeat the question and put more emphasis in it.
So how is it a waste?
Got her again.
So how is it a waste?
I don't know.
That's right.
Never speak up. Get some feedback, find out what's happening with her.
What's happening?
Maybe waste isn't the right word.
Okay.
Because I guess it's not a total waste because I'm still doing something.
Not a total waste. So what is it?
A distraction.
Interesting. We're going to find out the from in a minute, but what a difference, right? See the difference in us and the why? Okay. This is what we fix. It's not the housework. Everyone hates housework. It's the distraction. And what I'm curious about, and I know Janice well, I'm curious, what is she distracting herself from? So ask as you will. Remember, voice up, nice and authoritative.
So what are you distracting yourself from?
And we see those unconscious moments, so that's right.
What is it that you're distracting yourself from?
I don't know.
What is that?
Whatever else I could be doing.
And what is that?
Anything.
Okay.
So right now, if there's been a couple of layers of confusion from a simple question, which was what? See the power of that? Are we doing anything hypnotic? It's getting hypnotic just from the very fact of asking Janice, what does she mean by all of this? What's the really underlying thing here? Now, as good practice, just for now, if you find yourself, your client just is so lost in confusion, even asking them a very logical question, they just can't piece it all together, is to get some feedback and just say, you know, what's happening with the problem right now? And it gives us another place to start the whole process again. Does that make sense?
Sure.
There's definitely, it's got its connotations of if someone's in an unconscious moment to leave them there, but already you can see a different trance in Janice. It's not the same as what we had with Kerry. It's more upbeat, so we need to treat it as such. So what I'd like you to ask Janice is just ask her, how does she feel, reflecting on the unknown of what's happening right now in regards to the whole problem as itself. And let's just see if she gives us some new information or the real thing comes out and she says, oh, you know what? I didn't want to say this before. It's this, this, and this. Let's just see what happens.
So how do you feel about the whole problem?
So let's pause right there. Good place. But you see how Janice is spinning around almost on nothing right now? We can't progress from here because we still really don't know what the issue is, so we can't put her into a quote-unquote trance to fix it. So I'm just going to take over just for a second, just to show what I'm curious about. So right now you're not even sure what the problem is, right? Okay. So what made you bring it up in the first place?
Because I hate doing the housework and I avoid it.
So now we've readdressed the problem still existing the same, but it gives us a fresh place to start.
Okay.
It's almost like we're bringing back consciousness to say, hey, I need you a little bit right now, because where she went was a little bit too far. And the trance that we need to develop her to go into is not prepared yet. Does that make sense? It's a trance of just nothing. What I want is that trance they fall into and then they go, oh my God, I just found it. That's not there yet because we don't have enough information. Okay, so give me an example of when you last hated the housework. Or actually, give me an example of when you last avoided it.
Yesterday.
So what happened yesterday?
Yesterday I thought, wow, I really need to vacuum a couple of rooms because I try to do it a little bit each day so it doesn't seem like such a pain.
Sure.
And
so I've got to pause. Something good just came. I apologise for pausing. It's too good. What did she just tell us? Yep, definitely that. What else did she tell us? Thank you. She's already found a solution, which is I do it a little bit each day so it's not a pain. So we could almost assume maybe Janice, that's not giving her enough. She needs another way to do things because that way of doing it's just not working anymore. But she's told us, thank you.
That's my current strategy.
Okay, and that's the issue. She's told us indirectly. Do you see how we really have to pay attention to our clients? Totally different trance than before, right? Okay, so she said to us, basically, I could tell it was more unconscious because her voice lowered. It's like a secret, okay? And again, you learn to hear this stuff. It's like, I vacuum a couple of rooms so it's not such a pain. But that's not it. It's this, this, and this. Okay, it's like the unconscious mind testing us. Are you sure you're ready to help me? Okay, we're just as an assumption. So what's happening with it all? Why is it such a pain? Or what makes it such a pain that you have to avoid it? Let me ask you this. Through this little intervention we're having right now, what do you hope to get from it?
Somebody to clean my house.
So, what do we do with this? She knows what she wants. Did you see how that came? Now it's like she's saying basically us, can you be that person? It's not me. Why is that such an unconscious moment right then? See how quickly she came out with that? It's like the unconscious mind was waiting to say, you know what I really want? I want someone else to freaking do it. Now we have a place to start. This is why it's painful, because she has to do it, because she hasn't found that person or that thing to help her do it. Do you see how that all came out? We don't want to get sidetracked with all that, I hate this, I vacuum this. And it's like the unconscious mind has now expressed itself. You're going to get all the laughter and the stupidity from it. That's a really good unconscious moment. Okay? And the way we express it is just to basically say, look, Janice, I don't understand what you're telling me. Just freaking tell me, what is it? Bang, came out. It's like we've given her permission to. Does that make sense? Okay? So someone else do the housework for you, right? So you can do everything that they're not while they're cleaning the house, right?
Yeah.
So what are you here for then? You just haven't found that person, right? So what's the problem with all of this? There it is again.
Yeah.
What happened?
Probably.
You can tell
Maybe
me.
my standards are too high and I haven't found somebody who'll clean the house the way I like it to be cleaned.
Excellent. Now we're getting to the real crux of it. Make sense?
Not even me.
What's all this laughter for? It's the unconscious mind letting go of all of this. So standards are too high, right? So what do you want from me? As your therapist, or even as you got two hypnotists here, what are you hoping to get from the session? No point lowering your standards, right?
I'd consider it.
Have you?
Yeah, but it didn't work.
2 parts for those who are on masters lately with their parts integration. Okay, but we're not going to go down that road because it's not what we're here for today. Okay, so what we're saying, you've considered it, but it didn't work, right? Okay, so let me ask you this. What's so important about your standards that is not enough to go beyond the pain of doing the housework? I'll ask you, yeah, absolutely. What's so important about your standards that's not enough to go beyond the pain of housework? I really want you to think about that. What's so important about your standards that's not enough to go beyond the housework to get it done your way?
Can you do that again?
Definitely. Only if you think about it though. What happens when you think about it?
I start to think of something and then it disappears.
Start to think of something, then it disappears. It's like vacuuming, right?
If only.
If only, right? Takes a few turns, doesn't it? What's so important about your standards that hasn't gone beyond the pain of the housework enough? What's so important? That's it. What's so important? This has to get done properly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And there's a standard. There is a standard. It's not enough, is it? It's just not enough. So what's happening right now?
I'm trying to think about what exactly the standard is.
So am I. What exactly the standard is. And probably what the standard hasn't been up until this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a standard. And there's a what to that standard. Indeed. So what happens when you think about what the standard is? What's that?
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, right? How could there be a standard that you want that you could expect someone else to do for you when you don't even know what it is? Doesn't make sense, does it?
No, not really.
Is there something we know about standards? Changes, doesn't it? With people. So what's happening right now as you think about the standard?
I'm thinking that if I avoid it and I don't do it, it doesn't meet the standard anyway.
That's right, so you lose either way. So let me get this straight, just so I'm clear. Regardless of if you do the housework or not, it still doesn't meet your standard. So what's the problem?
I don't think I have one anymore.
I would tend to agree with you. Don't ever think your clients won't come in for something as small as this. There's not really a lot of substance to this, okay, because we asked Janice to think on the spot. Does that make sense? So it's not really painful, but it's a nice fun way to do an intervention. Now I will, sorry for jumping in your spot, but
But it is actually something that does annoy me.
what's happening right now? Unconscious mind is saying, well, let's make it important, because this could actually be fixed. So thinking about it now, does it still annoy you?
Not as much.
So do you see we were fixing something underneath the non-existing problem? Now this is a really good example because the unconscious mind, we played around the language, I'll talk about that in a moment, okay, which we just basically combine the two ideas together. Because where Janice was caught was, I hate doing housework, but it has to go to a certain standard if I do it. I'm not doing housework, so it's not meeting that standard. I'm lost in this thing, whether I do it or do not, I'm screwed either way, okay? Now what's come out, and I did this indirectly, was just saying it's not a real problem. So the unconscious mind has come out and said, hang on, yes it is. I'll make it a real problem because I can fix this. So it's almost testing in reverse. It's like when we say to a client, I think you'll still smoke, but that's just me, that's my opinion. I won't smoke. I reckon you will. So is that indirect testing? Okay. So what's happening with the problem right now? How do you feel about housework?
It's not my favourite thing.
Better place than before, right? It's not your favourite thing, right? Not your favourite thing. And whose would it be, right? I wouldn't want to meet that person. Right?
Yep.
I hate to be that person. They would spend all their time cleaning the house and enjoying it. But for the majority of us, hate it but get something from it. Because once it's done, it's done. So regardless of whether you do one room at a time, 1 day a week, or you do it all on a Sunday or a Monday, who cares how you do it, as long as it meets the standard of you doing it, right? Or did I misunderstand everything?
No, that's right.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, it's very short interventions. Then we're going to need questions for Janice. I'll explain what happened. Okay, very different intervention again. So what's occurred right here, and I'll show you the bit in the middle that we did just with the language itself, is Janice was excluding housework and pain. They were two separate things to her, okay? And she didn't want to do either because she didn't like either. So she was stuck in the middle. And all I've done is combine them together and said, well, who says you can't feel pain and hate doing housework, but as long as you get it done? And now it's to the point, well, I guess I can put up with the pain long enough as long as the housework gets done to my standard. See how that came about. And again, it's one of those interventions you have to watch the footage again. But she was excluding. It's painful, but I have to do the housework. I don't like the housework, I don't like it's being painful. I'm screwed either way. So now we combine the problem together. We haven't said it doesn't have to be painful because that's not my job. I've said basically, why don't you just do the housework to the extent you know it's going to be painful, get it done and just get over it. Make sense? Questions?
No, that makes perfect sense.
I hope so. Okay. Any questions from your side? Does that be a bit more apparent, especially the question you asked me before?
Yeah, it is actually.
Where we get lost is asking a lot of why questions, what questions, to try and tease out feelings. What I'm saying is let's go a place above that and just ask any old question, but notice the responses. Now, we didn't get a lot of unconscious moments. We got a big one during the middle, which let us know it sort of opened up the jar, so to speak, for all this new stuff to come out. Okay? So, being that I took over your role, if you're happy to stay the therapist, and I'll get you another volunteer. Okay. Give Janice a round of applause, thank you. Okay, stay here. Okay, stay there. Can we grab another volunteer that's got $1 million?